We're about to visit Henderson Hospital. It's unique, not only in this country, but throughout the world. Its patients are classified as psychopaths. They're not in the medical sense mentally ill, but they are emotionally ill. All these patients have had previous institutional experience, sometimes in mental hospital, more often in prison. They come to Henderson on a voluntary basis. No bars, no locks and keys, no physical pressures force them to stay here. In this kind of meeting, they discover an entirely new approach towards the basic business of living.
Well, I don't know why you just don't break completely all this phony love affair.
It's not phony, not on my behalf.
Do you feel that you're
You don't know
taking...
what I feel, mate.
I do, the
You
way you
bloody
talk about it.
Don't talk shit.
They receive help not only from the staff, but from each other. You will see actual treatment as it took place in front of our cameras. The only faces you will see in this program are those of the staff, with the exception of this ex-patient.
Well, it hasn't changed me. I mean, it's changed me in some ways, but it's just helped me to cope with different things that I would probably, you know, just carried on doing. Understanding why you do things, understanding people, not just thinking when they say something to you, they're just being funny. You can understand why they, you know, take an attitude the same as you would yourself.
Why do I tell people what I feel if you know? What do I feel at the moment? You know, you're so bloody clever.
I've seen enough of it.
Yeah, you're brilliant, dude. You shouldn't be here.
I wish I
You should
wasn't.
fucking be on the bloody psychiatry board. Medical doctor.
These meetings involve the entire hospital community, staff and patients alike. This kind of community meeting takes place every morning of the week. This kind of treatment is called group therapy. It requires painful honesty from every person involved. It makes great demands not only on the patients, but on the staff.
Well, I'm the medical director of this hospital, the Henderson Hospital. They're all personality disorders. We very rarely get anybody who hasn't either been in prison or been in a mental hospital, so that we often get them when everybody else has had a try at them and have failed. We have to try and unravel a lot of problems that have been made for us in the past.
You can say what you feel about me. I don't fucking care what it makes me. Give it a listen.
Honest, don't care attitude, right?
You know?
Two ways, but
If the patients see the kind of parental people in a very distressed or depressed state, I think this will stir up an awful lot of anxiety.
It did. The last time Rosemary got depressed and took tablets, it swapped off real bloody depression and get about half a dozen people bloody well active.
Well, you know, I shan't do it till Sunday if I do it then. Yeah?
Well, the patients make the rules. The idea is that it is no good. I mean, all these people have had rules given to them by other people in prison and other places. We feel the only way we're going to control them and to stop them becoming anti-authoritarian is to let them be the authority, so they control themselves. In order to do this, we invite them to make the rules. It's not a question of anything is permitted. This would be the worst thing that could happen to them. We tolerate a great deal. We have to put up with quite a lot, but the authority and the control comes from the patients themselves.
Well, there is authority, but it's not pushed on you. It's pushed on you, but in a subtle way, you know. A half and half sort of authority. You know, you're not made, you know, you've got to sit there and do as you're told. They sort of talk you into doing as you're told. It's a much easier way to accept authority from people, especially to people that can't accept authority when it's rammed down their throat. If a person goes halfway into talking to you into doing something, but then sometimes you don't even realise they're talking you into it. You just, you take it and do it.
I think Rosemary says that she can kiss her mother, but you can't at the moment, can you? I think you've really got to talk about this, Rosemary.
Well, you know, I just came up on Saturday. And she was just like somebody I'd never met before, you know. She sort of...
Somebody that you couldn't kiss and touch.
I couldn't even speak to her, you know. She just didn't want to know, you know.
Why did she come?
I don't know, honestly, you know. I sort of tried to convince myself it was because she was interested, you know. But I feel that if she was interested, she would have spoken. She would have said at least sort of, hello, how are you, you know.
We often feel that we should be treating a whole family and not a patient. Every patient, I think, I can't think of any exception, come from a family which is disturbed in some way, no parents or parents who don't love them or have left them or have died, and which often the patient feels as if they've been left. What we try to do is to hold a mirror up to the patient so that he begins to see himself as others see him, that he begins to experience himself what the kind of feelings that other people feel about him. He's constantly under criticism or support from the other patients and from the staff. If he's in any trouble or if he's depressed, everybody is always prepared to support him, encourage him at all hours. The treatment goes on during the night as well as the day. And after a period of a few months here, he begins to have a better appreciation of what he can do, what he is, who he is, which is very... Some of our patients don't really know who they are. And although there are personality disorders mostly diagnosed as psychopaths by other people, in here they're very lovable children, often very naughty children, often very dangerous children, but very lovable.
And so patients learn a way of expressing their problems, of talking about them without fear. They discover the underlying emotions which have driven them into conflict with the outside world, a conflict that has very often led to criminal acts.
But you know, there's not much to say, you know, I really wanted to keep on Rosemary, you know, let's talk about committing suicide on the Sunday respect, because, you know, I feel pretty suicidal myself. But, you know, I don't want to talk about it. You know, I talk about it to individuals. I talked about it in the ward last night. That, you know, that it's kind of, the feeling, you know, that I've never felt before, you know, it has saved me, in fact. Because each day, you know, is agony anyway. And I've got something to look forward to, you know, that I keep saying to myself, well, you know, you can stop it any time you want to, you know. That I've got no fears of it.
Yes, well, my name is Hector Smith. I'm the Assistant Chief Male Nurse here. Treatment here is us trying to get them to verbalise these feelings which in the past they've been afraid to do, and to try and analyse and get to the bottom of these feelings, to find out what they're all about, what motivates them and so on. In the past they've been only able to deal with these feelings by being aggressive, destructive, getting into trouble with the law, not being able to relate to other people in a proper adjusted way. And so we try to be as permissive as we can here and try and get as close as we can to the patients. That's one reason why we don't have uniforms, to try to drop this figure of authority that these patients very often see the staff as.
Every member of the staff is involved in the treatment and care of the patients.
I'm Connie Cooper, manageress of the cafeteria. Well, I think it's the way you talk to some of them. With some people, they're inclined to be a bit sharp with them. You've got to understand them. And I mean, quite a lot of the patients call me Mum. I think it's because they've had no proper upbringing themselves and that, you know. And I think that's the way it is with them, you know. Some have got no parents and that, and they come and put their arms around me and say, oh, it's lovely to have a mum. It's very nice. I've been sorry to leave here, I would. So sometimes they make you angry and you say, oh, well, you will, but you would be sorry too, you know. You get attached to them, you know.
Each morning, after the large community meeting, smaller meetings take place. Smaller in numbers, but the problems that emerge in this more intimate atmosphere are seldom small.
Well, I don't know, at
first I disliked Bobby intensely myself, but now I've got to know her better, you know, that my attitude towards her has changed. You know, she seemed so high and mighty when she first came in, complaining about the dirty rooms and the language and all sorts of things. I mean, I know that I do swear a hell of a lot, you know, but she said that anybody swears that they've lowered themselves in my estimation, was immediately got my back up, you know.
What do you feel about your language?
Language? Oh, I'm not particularly bothered about it myself.
But you resent Pat's language.
No, no, I didn't. No, but I don't swear at anybody. No, I did say slag and slob, but I don't.
I think other people think you swear.
Oh, no, not effing and blinding. I don't, you know. Not to anybody, not directed at anybody. I use it in conversation, you know. Well, yes, I could control myself, but also it was a case of having to.
Well, you can call people fat slobs, can't you?
But so I stopped, you know. But they don't stop doing it to me, you know. They just carry on.
You don't stop doing it to other people. It doesn't mean anything when you say it, but it means something when someone else says it.
But I told you I'd stopped, haven't I?
When did you stop it? Last night?
No, I didn't. I didn't say anything to anybody else today.
No, well, you stopped yesterday. That was only yesterday, wasn't it?
Could you come in here, Pat? How do you see Pat swearing?
I can't say nothing. I don't feel like saying anything.
You know, it's just like you behaved in the first week or fortnight or 3 weeks when you were here.
What was listening?
No, well, blowing off steam and, you know, kind of, you know, making quite a demonstration. And yet terribly worried and frightened inside.
And then you wanted to strangle me, didn't you? You put your 2 arms up around my throat as well.
Well, come here, saying you, dear, you're one of the best here.
I didn't know whether you wanted to kill me or love me. And I think that this is the feelings you should be trying to put into what the things that you feel about women. Now go on with the first one about the killing.
Do you feel she neglects you?
No, not at all, no.
Women do neglect you,
No.
Did your mother neglect you?
Well, I don't think we're in touch this morning.
No, but I mean, I think that's way back in the past, but I feel there must be things happening in today in the hospital that makes him feel that he is deprived, neglected. Of course, we don't go talking about what they did when they were 3 or their grandmothers and so on. We try to work through it as it is at the moment on the spot. This will often take them back to the past experience, but we really try to work through present experiences.
Are you scared that if you stay here much longer, where the controls have to come from yourself, that you might do something daft?
I might try to go back a little more sooner or later.
But that's open as well.
No, there's a lock over there as well.
Well, you feel he goes a lot forward?
Yeah, for a few months.
Is it something you're scared you might do to yourself, or to something?
No, it's other people.
Who in particular?
Well, take her. She's so bloody provoking last night, you know. I could have winged me, you shut her up and hang her. Or do my hand. She can get away with it at times. She goes swagging around the place. She thinks she's Lord Almighty, you know.
But she doesn't think...
Instead of a little girl who doesn't know too much about that.
She doesn't think she gets away with it. She thinks she's being criticised and over-criticised all the time.
Mm.
I think you must be very fond of Pat in many ways.
No, not. I would like to see her as a woman, but not as a bloke around wearing bloody trousers, you know.
You like to see the feminine side of her?
Well, sometimes I do, sometimes we do, we all do. When she's calm, you know, with her, she's all right. She can talk as good as anybody else.
Like she is now?
No. Maybe she's tied up on me over it now.
You seem pretty controlled at the moment, Pat. You look controlled. Do you feel controlled? You're not shouting as you usually do. You're not showing any feeling.
What do I say? There's so much feeling inside that wants to come out, but you know, I don't know how to bring out. You know, I spent 4 hours this morning walking around and finally landed up in Banstead police station trying to come to terms with myself. You know.
What kind of feelings? Depressed feelings, angry feelings?
Mainly suicidal feelings, Hayden. Terribly, terribly depressed. Well, you see, as somebody pointed out to me, I don't know the real me, and I don't think anybody else does. And I've tried to cast myself in so many roles. Maybe that somebody will hit on it and say, oh, maybe that's the real you. I just don't know where I stand at the moment, believe me.
Each day at Henderson Hospital includes an afternoon work session. To the outsider, the work appears undemanding, unimportant. But to the individual patient, each job, no matter how simple, how monotonous, takes on enormous importance.
I'd go to work and I'd feel that, that the foremen and the people in charge were resentful, to me. I felt they always gave me the worst jobs, which I did, of course, because I didn't assert myself or refuse anything, that I thought I shouldn't do. And I was resentful about this. Well, I'd do that for a few months and then I'd explode, I'd get angry and I'd smash everything up. I'd get the sack, I'd go home and try and talk to my wife. And, well, I couldn't. I'd just smash the place up too.
Yeah, well, my name is Cyril Brooks, and I'm a chief instructor. I'm in charge of the workshops. Now, in the meantime, during their stay here, the sort of things that I'm interested in is, have they any difficulty in getting there? That is, if the shop is a little distance off, can they get there on time? And this all ties up with, what's happened outside, whether they've been able to travel to work, whether they've been able to get on time, and whether they've been able to cope with a foreman or a boss figure. When they come into the workshops, you can't stop treatment. They bring their difficulties with them.
And, well, we get the policing, and they either give me a warning or take me in. Well, this went on all the time. They get in the sack, working and get in the sack and get in trouble. The probation officers tried to help me. They told me to pull myself together and try to help me, but I couldn't, Well, when I went to Henderson, I sort of repeated the same pattern, I felt the doctors and I felt that all the staff were resentful.
The bad workman who has always had trouble with his foreman, inevitably when he comes here and if he's missing work groups and not attending work, he will be made the foreman of the workshop. And there, for the first time in his life, he has to issue the instructions. He has to see that his fellow patients get to work. And although they all start off thinking this is quite a joke and they're going to play at it, after 2 or 3 days they find that the other patients are taking them seriously and they really have to be a foreman. And for the first time they begin to realize how a foreman feels when his workmen don't turn up on time or when they are slovenly in their work or don't do their work efficiently. And he is held responsible to the community as a whole, patients and staff, for doing a good job of work.
As soon as afternoon work is over, any group of patients can call a voluntary meeting where they discuss the experiences that have affected them. This group consists of ex-prisoners.
Look, you can control anger if you want to. You can control anger. Just for a feeling, isn't it, anger? Now, you can control it, or you don't want to control it. If you don't want to control it, you're going to smash somebody. Well, if you control it like normal people, you shout at them and rail at them if you need be, and then it's all gone. Or else you can push it down until it explodes inside. Or might come out in different ways, like going and stealing and getting the thrill, letting off your emotions by driving a high-powered car at 100 miles an hour down and smashing it up, because it's not your car anyway, you don't have to worry about it.
I'm a senior registrar here. A lot of them have been, leading such a completely chaotic existence that they really felt that all these things were just happening to them. They couldn't do anything about it at all themselves, and that they really couldn't choose. They had no particular say in what happened to them, and were prepared to go ahead with whatever society or their families chose to do. Most of them needed to protest in some kind of way, but the reason for the protest, I think, varies a great deal from patient to patient. Some patient, for example, might smash a window, not so much because it's an angry thing to do, but really just to indicate to people how terrible he was feeling, how much he felt he needed help and assistance, and really how helpless he felt at being able to know whom to turn to, you see. Whereas, of course, another person steals a car because he knows that by getting his name in the paper, his father will be pulled down a peg or two. And, you know, pulling parents down a peg or two is a happy hunting ground for many people in the throes of, if you like, an adolescent problem. And, of course, a lot of these patients are still in the middle of this, although they're by no means adolescent.
It's not just because they want to get into crime or they want kicks. There are some people who do that, but some people do it because they're very lonely or because they need attention, and the only way to get attention is to, you know, maybe do it in the wrong way. But they are, you know, just calling out for help, really.
Do patients feel that prison can help them or has helped them in any way?
No, they don't. They tide you over for the time being. And probably make you, you know, a lot worse. You resent being locked up, and then you start all over again when you come out. It doesn't make you see, they punish you for what you've done, but it doesn't make you see why you've done it. So why shouldn't you do it again? It doesn't show you, you know, the reasons why you do things. So you just go ahead, you know, thinking, well, I've been punished, you know, no reasons why I did it. So you go ahead and maybe make the same mistakes all over again.
What do we do? Stop making the excuse for us that there's something wrong mentally. There's bugger all wrong mentally, you know.
You don't believe it?
I don't believe it.
Mentally, no.
And when you're saying that, you're using it in an excuse.
Well, why do you get so many people who go out to work, you know, and draw this wage that you draw, which is a fantastic wage, by the way, and they live normal, happy lives? They don't dream of going out, Steve.
This is the difference, you see, because emotionally, which is the governing factor, they're completely immature, or they can't control their emotions. Their emotions force them to go and do things. They know the difference between right and wrong. They're not mentally sick. And this is the biggest thing, that we're not mentally sick. That we go out, because we haven't learned to control our emotions, we go out and do these things. That's why we come here, to learn to mature.
Supposing there was a riot in, say, any prison or Borstal, how do you feel about the officers taking their anger out on the prisoners?
Oh, they will anyway.
Yes, well, I know, but do you feel it's right that they should be allowed to?
No, it's inevitable.
No,
how will you stop it?
But this is against the law, isn't it?
If you look at it, your word against them is nothing.
Look, the sort of thing, the sort of man who creates more trouble than anyone else was one whom I was concerned with. He joined the prison service about 1938 or 37, and joined the guards during the war, and stayed in the prison as a sergeant in charge of the detention block. After the war, he signed out into the same bloody block in the prison and worked his way up from, you know, just ordinary screw to principal officer, till eventually became chief. They sent him to the toughest nick in Scotland. The police had been quiet for years. They'd got a set of progressive governors who'd smoothed it out, got it running properly, without riots, without anything. It was quite a constructive jail. And the toughest neds in the country, there was no stabbing, you know, and no slashing, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
He was promoted to chief and arrived. And within 6 weeks he had that place in a state of riot. And a fortnight after that he got arrested for theft and convicted and jailed for theft, and it had been going on for the past 30 bloody years. Through the roof.
But I don't want to go back.
But as soon as the man enters, you know, the gates and they close the doors, that he just becomes a number. He is knocked about. He just says to yourself, well, I've been punished, I have 5 years to do, let's get it done, and he'll do all the skives and tricks he can, you know, to get his sentence through. There's no incentive, even for a criminal, to do anything at all, you know, it's just plain stupid.
I don't think I will have any more trouble now, you know. If a long time ago I'd have got the help that I got from Henderson in 6 months, then, you know, I would have been different then. But I got more help in 6 months than I did in 5 years, from 4 or 5 other hospitals, prison and everything else.
Really, all we really are aiming to do is to give them an appreciation and insight of themselves, so that they can control themselves and hope to adjust themselves, not necessarily to change them in any way, but to help them to improve the way they can relate to other people in getting either close or reacting in a friendly kind of way without fears and the angers that they often have before they come to us.